for my live? I can't tell if YouTube's actually... Oh, has YouTube actually kicked into being live? Willow's just having a bath in the background, so I don't know how much of a stress she's been. Don't know how much you can hear of that. I should be live, right? Shouldn't I? I think so. I might need to open my own stream or something in a private browser just to confirm. I am, well, technically I'm earlier today, but then again, the clocks have changed in the UK, so. Oh well, I just do it myself. So there we go. Hi, Daka Flame. Yes, thank you. I can see. We have confirmed the liveness of the stream. I'll show you my beautiful face. What? Hi Tyler, how are you? Hope you're doing very well. Yeah, today. It just keeps dropping. It keeps drooping on me, so I'll have to get it close. No, go back. The torture. So I've actually changed a few things on the technical side of things today. Actually, let's. There's something I was just talking to. Wow, that is wrong. I was just talking to Dark Matter Workshop, and he recommended. Well, in one of his latest video, he uses these tubes, and they're quite beastie. I don't know the exact size. He said they're about 1 inch wide, and I'm not gonna lie, they look incredible. It's essentially like a scaled up version of the small ones. Bit on the expensive side is that this is £8 from here, and it does say in stock. I wonder how much the shipping would be though. I get free shipping on Amazon, but they're called tubation wheels. Oh, tubation wheels. So it's. Wait, what? They look like the same thing. I'm going to click the store there. But yeah, I want to buy these. So I've changed a few things, which in theory you guys may not notice. Obviously, by the way, this is not the topic for today's stream. Let me search. Awkward to search this weird name. Let's do that and try it again. So we can get a big set of them for that. I'll have a look at this off stream, I think, in a few, well, whenever the stream ends. I sort of don't want to pay £20 for some pipes, but I want more pipes than less pipes, so, yeah, okay, it looks interesting though. But yeah, for me, price is not everything, but it's important. So there we have it. But yeah, don't minimize it, Jay. Don't minimize it, Jay. There we go. Let's try and make sure everything's actually working the way it's supposed to work. So I don't know if you can tell. Maybe you can answer the question, Tyler. I am early today, but the quality might be a little better, maybe. Especially on. See, what I actually can do if I really wanted to is to make it look a little bit better. Is to actually turn on the lights that I have. Let's show you the full effect. The full effect. Oh, it's on the bright side, that one, isn't it? Oh, I quite like the yellow. Let's turn it down a little bit. Yeah, so I mean, look at my skin; it's so smooth, apart from the big giant spot. But so what? It's almost a completely different setup, right? It looks good. Thank you. It's almost a completely different setup. It's a different camera, for one, and let me know if the sync is also a little bit weird. It's a different camera and it's a different capture card. So essentially it's a different process completely. The reason I've done that is for a few reasons. One, the autofocus on this is better. So for example, you know, we're not going to see me go completely out of focus like we often did. Now, I don't know if there is a bit of stuttering. That could be to do with one of the settings that I need to change. There's one, here, let me see if I can change it on the fly. There's one where here, let me disable that. No, enable that. Which could increase latency, but it should be smooth. Ooh. This capture card will let me do 60 frames per second, but I am only streaming in 30 frames per second. Just because of bandwidth, I want it to look a bit as better as it can, as good as it can. What was the other reason? It does allow me to use my other camera that I was using all the way for the terrain stuff. And I also have a different capture card for the terrain stuff. So the terrain, when we're not actually doing terrain today necessarily, but when we do get round to doing terrain, it may look better. So that's the plan. Hi Thomas, I hope you're doing very well. How are you today? And hi Atom, up and Atom 365. Yeah, so one thing I want to show, which I was quite impressed about, probably won't work now, but it was working in the tests. If I ever like, my other camera wouldn't do this, but let's say I did this. Oh, see that autofocus right there? Oh, it's actually picking up my hand because I don't know where my hand is, but you get the gist. Yes, you see that. Hi, Just Kev. Hi, everybody. Yeah, I don't know if he'll do it without my hand. Oh, he does it without my hand. It's just, oh, it's good, isn't it? It's good. I like it. It's like, I can show you stuff very easily. Let's see what else I've got to hand. Nothing really of interest. Oh, a barrel. Oh, ooh. And then back on the face, beautiful. A space marine, and I can't remember how I painted it, just blue. You can't even tell that it's been painted. Ooh. What else have I got on my desk that I could show you? Vitamin B. Oh, that's bright. Oh, check it though. So the autofocus is better. It's basically one thing. Hi, Subcommandante. Good evening, Kaza. How are you? I hope you're doing very well. Today's subject is, of course, a controversial one. We'll be talking about Games Workshop pricing. I don't know why I've picked this. I do say, one thing I will say is that the camera is on auto white balance. So, yeah, I will set it to a manual white balance after the stream. I just couldn't figure out how to do it quickly. So there we have it. Yeah, we're going to talk about Games Workshop pricing, which will be an interesting one. I will show you where I got up to on my skeleton for those of you who actually care. Partly because it'll let me show you my new camera setup. So I will show you that. Games Workshop pricing come to the fore very recently because of the combat patrol boxes. Yeah, so we'll talk about that. Controversial subject as always, as you can imagine. And it will be interesting to see when we get there. But shall we peruse the terrain before we jump straight into the Games Workshop subject? Or should we prepare for the Games Workshop? We'll prepare for the Games Workshop subject. So I want to leave this tab up because I want to order these pipes. But it's actually the community website. So the prices have been leaked, which is not necessarily a massive surprise. Why? Right, I don't get this. I'm in incognito mode. Why is it giving me all the search stuff that I've searched? Bad Firefox. Doesn't really matter. But, you know, it's not what I wanted to do. So it's come to a front for two real reasons, and that is the new Combat Patrol boxes. Hey, Matt. And the gas, exactly, yes. So one of the better videos is, well, that's rude because I'm not saying the rest, but specifically in Chapter Master Varix, he actually shows the picture of what it is and the price. So we'll talk about this. Will the Games Workshop pricing ever not be a thing? Maybe, if they keep increasing the pricing, maybe either people will just stop buying them. But no, I don't want to talk about the specifics, right? Because I don't really know the specifics. By the way, I hope you're all doing very well, Matt and Kaza and Kevin, everybody. I more have a philosophical question about the price increases. People say that will always buy. Some people will always buy depending on the price, right? I agree with you there, Kaza. But I do think, and I think for me, the ultimate worry would be that Games Workshop outprice not everybody. Games Workshop outprice to a tipping point that destroys Wargaming. Now that's a clickbaity like headline, and I'm not saying it is going to do that. But if Games Workshop, for example, right now, if Games Workshop doubled their prices on everything, some people would defend it and still buy the stuff, right? But I feel like that would really harm wargaming as a whole. And that's sort of what the subject is going to be thingy. You've been stupidly busy? Well, I'm happy you've joined us. So for those of you who don't know, in the UK, the clocks went back on Sunday. So I'm in like, this would have been 7 o'clock, but it is now to me 6 o'clock. So I didn't want to wait because I was like, I'm ready to go. So anyway, the pricing has come about for 2 reasons. And I'm not getting into the pricing yet. One is that is not the box that I wanted to see. Well, it is these boxes, and it is the catacombs box, which, don't get me wrong, looks incredible. And in fact, that's actually on the Games Workshop website, I believe, right now, because it is available right now. And I will also look at the Chapter Master Valric video. Chapter Master Valrac. If you are a 40k player and you are on YouTube, you will probably know Chapter Master Valrac. But I'll link his video. But that's let me get his video. I would have linked his video if I could find the link. Save link. I don't want to save the link. I want to copy the link location. Thank you. I mean, if you're not already. Hi, Craig. How are you? How are you doing? Very well. Yes, but we're going to look at this video. We'll give him the advent menu because why not? Although I think it's crashed, so it's not quite what we're looking for there. I was prepared to give him the advent menu, but it's all gone tits up. So it is what it is. Anyway, so we'll talk about that in a moment. Let's get on the Games Workshop website. So yeah, it's not about the specifics of each pricing because quite frankly, I don't know if they're going to be good or bad. It's more about the pricing concept and what it might do to wargaming as a whole, basically. It's like, so I titled this like Why It Matters, because, and I'll say this probably a couple of times throughout the evening, a lot of people will dismiss talks about pricing because they'll be like, if you don't want it, don't buy it. And that's reasonable to a point. But for me, I think there's a bigger potential problem beyond that. So bear with me a second. Let's have a view all. So the catacombs, there we go. The catacombs is a classic one. And yes, let's go back to this. I've seen a lot of people mention the price of the Necron Warriors compared to, well, I don't know what Games Workshop's thinking there, because yeah, so for those of you who don't know, in the Necron Warriors, for which you might get 10 or something, yeah, I'm not a fan, but it's not specifically Warhammer 40k I'm going to talk about. It's more Games Workshop, but I just get sick of putting Games Workshop logo everywhere. It's cheaper to buy a starter box that includes 10 Necron Warriors or 5 Necron Warriors, whatever it is, than the actual solo box of the Necron Warriors. It literally, therefore, makes no sense to buy Necron Warriors on their own. So that's just madness, isn't it? I've been thinking about getting into Warhammer, as I currently only play role-playing games. So a lot of the conversation here is like, and one of the big reasons I think it matters is that wargaming specifically needs players. Yeah. And we'll get on to why that's important shortly. Before we do, I don't want to tease, but I just want to no, pause to it. Let's not tease. I was going to show you my skeleton, but if anybody's, I don't know if you can see it. Maybe I'll do it here. Here, look, I'll just do it here before we do it. I just wanted to show you the progress for those of you who've been paying attention before we talked about pricing. But I'm jumping at the bit, biting at the bit. Now we'll test out the camera and if it works. So it actually, I haven't sealed the flock, so don't hate me. Now I have washed it, but I've not dry brushed it back up, and I'm not going to because I quite like it the way that it is. Ooh, spooky. Spooky. Probably does need a dry brush to really add something to it, but I just really like that, like that evil-ish colour. There's some green on it somewhere you can't really see. Probably does need more like vines and stuff like that, but I quite like it the way that it is. So, ooh, I quite like it. So for that video, I need to do the voiceover. I need to edit. I need to get the stuff off the SD card, get it all edited, and get it all ready for Friday. So we'll see how that goes. Thank you, Goey. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks, Just Kev as well. Yeah, I really, really like it. It needs a few little, like, just a bit of liking here and there, but there we go. Anyway, let's talk. I want to talk about pricing, so let's just do it. Answer to the Necron question. The recruit starter box is an item that GW record as a new player. GW can sell this instead of Necrons to rack up new players. Yeah, I completely understand, but it just if you are a Necron player, why would you buy the normal Necrons? You'd be better buying just constant starter box. I guess they're saying like, oh well, we sold 55 million starter. It's not 55 million. We sold a shed ton of starter boxes. I don't think GW has much effect on the wider gaming community anymore. So I do agree, Subcommandante, to an extent, because I feel like you've almost got a complete split in some ways. But anyway, let's go through why we're talking about this now. So, the Warcry Catacombs box, right? Which I haven't opened up because I'm an idiot. The Warcry Catacombs box, £125. Now, I don't necessarily think that's bad value. It means Great Lad. I might even remember Great Lad rather than Goey or whatever that is. Do apologise. Yeah, I actually think when I look at this Catacombs box, I think it's all right value. You get, it's basically a combination of the old set with the new set, right? It's got doors, some flat pieces of terrain, the coffin and stuff like that. I really like the board. Fine. The original Warcry starter set was like 85 quid, but I think this is not the problem here is that it essentially is for new players because it's a 2-player box and it includes a bit of the old stuff with the new. It's not really for current players, but I think a current player would want it more than a new player, so I think that's by the by, whatever, by the by. It will have an effect on the viability of brick and mortar stores. Yeah, I agree with you. Again, I do agree with what you're saying there. So, and I've got to, by the way, the bloody dark, I'm just going to call them Dark Elves. I love Dark Elves. They're the faction I played in Warhammer Fantasy. So, the box, fantastic. It's just, the question of value has to be raised when your original box is 85 quid and then you basically increase the price by 40 quid. I think it was 85 quid, if anybody can correct me. That's it, right? If you're going to increase your price by 40 quid, you sort of expect a little bit of something else in it. Also, if you compare it to the Indomitus sets, which Indomitus box set, it had a shed ton of miniatures in it, you've got to question where the pricing logic really lies. Anyway, I'm personally not really too bothered by these. The old adage here does apply. If you don't want it, don't play it. Don't buy it, don't play it, right? And that essentially is also the same for the combat patrols. So the combat patrols, the theory here is that they're releasing combat patrol boxes, which for 40k is essentially like, how to phrase it? It looks like the new start collecting boxes, probably, which would make sense, right? It's a rebrand, they get to do the box and that kind of stuff. Now, the problems I don't really particularly have much of a problem in that sense, but let's have a look at Valrak's video, which I didn't realise was playing because otherwise I would have paused it. But I've got ads here, I don't want its ads. Let me, can I maximise it? Does that make any sense? Nope, you can't see it because of my big head. Valrak obviously wasn't thinking about my stream when he did this. The problem I personally have with this screenshot, if you will, is 15 miniatures for £85, and people say that this is worth approximately 100 and I don't know what did he say, 130, 140 quid, something like that. It's worth it in terms of miniatures, right? Yeah, Greg, I do understand that, and some products they'll be selling probably not for as much profit as others to try and get people started and that kind of stuff. But I understand that Death Watcher are supposedly elite, and so Space Wolves and Primaris Marines are also elite. I think the other one is 17 models for the same kind of price. But this specific box set, when I see it, it's basically about £5.60 a model, whatever currency that is in your local area. I obviously have no idea. Probably about the same depending on where you are in euros and dollars. Well, not if it's Australian dollars. But when you get into £6 a miniature, right, for a normal troop that is, how big? How big are these guys? This big? This big? Like, you're paying £6 for one of them. Don't get me wrong, right? Games Workshop make incredible miniatures. They make fantastic miniatures, probably the best around, or if not the best, one of the best, and consistently. And they make a lot of them. Any faction you play in 40k, you know at some point within the next year or two you're going to get quite a few releases, unless you're like, I don't know, Orcs or something. No, I don't mean, it depends what I said, Blackjack Legacy. I'm not, my point, that isn't, Andy, this isn't really my point. I'm getting a little bit distracted, but I'm not here saying that £6 a miniature is necessarily bad. It depends on the miniature, right? Oh, you're talking to somebody else in the chat, are you? Oh, yeah. So I'm not necessarily, it depends on the kind of miniature. I don't necessarily mind that. It's just, I'm just explaining why I'm even talking about it, right? My problem isn't necessarily the price per miniature. It's just, it caught my eye, if that makes sense. I'm not saying it's bad. I mean, Gaz Thraka, whatever, is like £45 or whatever he is. It's in this video from Varag. He is expensive. It's not necessarily a problem. Having a single miniature that's expensive, not really a problem. I suspect the new Star Wars Legion guy is like, new Star Wars Legion Luke is probably 15 or 20. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it's £20. I'm just setting the scene, if you will. I'm not necessarily complaining about individual pricing. Like, I think the bikes are like £9 a model. It is what it is. But the reason I'm setting that up is the price per model is for the later point of why it's actually important and who it's important to. Because the argument that that they don't care about gaming and they care about models, well, at some point I think people are going to question why they care about specific models. Let me get there. Let me read Just Kevs. Imagine GW didn't exist, we lived in Mantic Warlord, then tomorrow GW revealed their minis, they are light years ahead in quality. Yes, I 100% agree. Like, GW make probably the best miniatures, or very nearly, if not the best, at relatively reasonable prices. It's not necessarily even a problem. No, I'm not going to talk about it, Subcommandante. I don't want to talk about it in too much detail. It's only because I didn't really have a subject today. And plus, I don't really follow 40k, but I do follow Wargaming, and it's Wargaming that I have a more concern with, rather than 40k specifically. But 40k is the biggest game in the Wargaming community. So, yeah, Star Wars Legion is £12 a figure, exactly. So it depends on the kind of characters. Deathwatch are like elite characters, basically. So I'm just explaining why I paid attention to it, right? Because I mean, you could go through this entire thing and be like, where's the this guy's £26.50. Do you know what I mean? Like, you could be like, what the hell? How much is this guy? He's £42, right? I'm not really too bothered about them. It doesn't really bother me. I do agree, if you don't play it, if you don't like it, don't play it, kind of thing. But let me get my notes up here. I think Wargaming, I'm on the wrong thing there. I understand. Like, so my point isn't necessarily that the prices are bad, because market factors determine the price. My point is that they are eye-catching prices. I think we can agree with that. I don't think, like, whatever that giant was, £120, it's an eye-catching price, rather than necessarily a bad deal. That makes sense? They're actually decreasing the prices, aren't they, I think? Yeah, so that starter box for 15 models is good value. If you buy them individually, you'd pay more than the £85. So in that sense, it's good value. If you're comparing it to like 40k and 40k, it's good value. And even if you compare it to some other games, it can be good value. As I said, the pricing isn't bad. It's just eye-catching prices. That's what I'm saying. Now, what if you ban separately? Yeah, they've decreased the price. It's actually good value. If you play Deathwatch, you're going to want that box. Completely fine. Completely understandable, acceptable, no complaints, completely fine. I would encourage somebody who plays them to buy them if you wanted them. I really like the idea of selling a box for your combat patrol as a game as well. I wish games like Star Wars Legion would follow suit. If anything, I've been a big advocate for Star Wars Legion. I think that they should sell like a skirmish single player box, right? I think that would be a fantastic idea. I completely agree. And if you save people money in the process, even better, right? I do agree with that. Spending $300 on an army that you can play for years and years is really good compared to... Yeah, I do agree with you there as well, Marcus. But I think one of the things that I want to talk about here is that really wargaming is dependent on two things. People, or you don't play. So the problem with this is, right, if you're a hobbyist and you're going to be painting miniatures, you're in sort of like a different category, right? But let's have a look at the category of people who want to play the game, right? Or they want to play a wargaming tabletop game. And this is really the whole point, rather than say specific prices. I couldn't give two poops about specific prices, 120 quid giant or whatever. It's just an eye-catching moment. But let's say I'm a wargamer, right? I want to play wargaming games. Who do I play these games with? Right, that's question number one. None of my friends play war games anymore. They all play D&D. Not just because of COVID, just in general. So I ain't playing with my friends. I don't have the friend community to do that with. It's not possible. I'm not playing with my wife. My wife's just had a baby. We don't care. She don't care about wargaming anymore. I do agree $300 is a chunk for an army, but you don't generally have to jump in at the $300 level, depending on how you're getting into it, right? So wargaming, I think most people can agree, it's like you either play with nobody, in which case you're playing for the models. You either play with a group of people that you can sort of consistently meet, be that like a group of a store, or be that with what they call like a gaming group, a club. You could be that, or just your friends, right? If you've got a group of people who are going to play, then you're going to play what the most people want to play, right? And then the alternative one is that you play a game with randomers at like tournaments and stuff like that. That's what I personally do. And you, Drakar relied on the stores. Obviously, nobody can rely on stores right now, so this is a little bit of a leap, right? What did Greg was agreeing with Mr. Evil Pumpkins, and I'm not 100% sure what Mr. Evil Pumpkins said. Do apologise for that. I miss Mr. Evil Pumpkin. I still can't even see him, so I'm gonna have to skip that. But so there's probably these three categories of gamers, if you will. Although one of them not really that bothered about the game, just hobbying. Gamers who play in like a club, a group, family, friends, whatever, and then gamers who primarily go to events and require events to happen, places to go, because they've not got a specific group that's like reliable, right? Now, compare that with like board games. Board games, traditionally, there are board game clubs and stuff like that, but it's sort of understood that board games are a group of friends, right? Sure, I think that's mostly the case. 35, 50 quid is a good starter point. So I don't want to necessarily, talking about what's a good starter point to get in, I forgot what the new version of First Strike is, but that kind of box set, perfect. GW have that nailed. They're so good with their pricing on a lot of things like that. They are so goddamn good, and the quality of the miniatures so goddamn good as well. Yeah, in fact, a lot of companies don't compete in my opinion. But currently, because my friends and I can't meet up easily, right now it makes sense to be painting miniatures and making terrain. I think we can all agree world situations are an issue. And I do agree with you, Subcomandante. Anything more than that can put people off a game because it's more expensive to get into. But board games, you pretty much require a group of friends, right? Now, wargaming is different in that sense. Your board game friends, your board game group, you get variety by the different board games, right? Because you might play a game for a week or 1 week, or then play a different game, and then play a different game, and then play a different game, and then go back to the original game, and then play a different game, and so on. The variety in board gaming groups comes from the different games, not necessarily the different people you play. Dracal says, I do have a group I play various games with. Yeah, so if you also have a group, what kind of game for Wargaming is your group going to play? They're probably going to gravitate to whatever's the most popular, not just because it's the most popular, but because specifically people like that for a reason. People like the Games Workshop games not because of the cost of the miniatures. You know, nobody's getting into the cost of the Games Workshop games because they're like, oh my god, Games Workshop are cheap. I'm going to buy my Games Workshop games. Like, hi Steve, by the way. Nobody's really doing that. They're doing it because the miniatures are great, the stories are interesting, the universe is cool, that kind of thing, right? But it's popular for reasons. It might be unpopular for reasons. People have an expectation that they call Games Workshop expensive, right? I don't necessarily think they're too expensive on average. I said there's just some prices that we've seen where it's like, you look at them and you're like, that's a bit of an eye-catching price. And so for me, the variety with Wargaming, it's a game that you obviously play lots of. You don't play one game and then play 5 different games and then go back to 40k. Well, some people might do, but generally you play. If you're going to events and stuff like that, you'll go play 6 games at a weekend. Then 2 weeks later, go play 6 games. Or you might find a gaming group and you might be like, well, I'll go play this game here, and then I'll go play the same game with a different list here, and so forth. You might have different armies, which is fine. You add a bit of variety that way. But for me, a lot of the variety comes from who you play and what army they're playing. So in that sense, the popularity of the game is important because it intrinsically has a link to the variety that you get to experience. Does that make sense? I don't know if that is even making sense. But it's not just the popular. I think we can all agree the popularity of Wargaming is important for some people, right? Let me read these comments. I have hardly any Wargaming friends. I have no Wargaming friends for sure. Most of mine play board games or D&D. That's the same. I do like Blood Bowl, by the way. And one of my D&D friends is obsessed with 40k, so he could get me into the hobby. Yeah, like if you've got people and friends who are going to get you into it, fine. I personally started playing Star Wars Legion primarily to just go to events and experience that scene, right? Because I've since found people who live locally, but it was going to events that came first. GW do have a presence on the high street, and I'm not denying that GW aren't the biggest. They may even be the best, for sure. And they are afforded the luxury of having stores. They pay for it. It's a marketing tool for them. So, but it's a luxury in a sense that they can afford it because they are the biggest. Why would I pay so much for a 40k rulebook full of photos? Hey, look. It's your choice. Hi Thomas, by the way. As a Blood Angels plays, even I am considering that Death Watch box. Yeah, in terms of value, it's good, isn't it? But to somebody who doesn't play that faction, I look at it and I think 15 models for 85 quid's high. That's my instant reaction. Whether or not it's right or wrong isn't necessarily true. You've been DMing for a year. So popularity, I think, is important, is what I'm trying to get at. Now, it's not important for those people who are interested in models. And apparently that's a lot of Games Workshop players. So they obviously have an advantage, or they have something going for them that isn't just the game, right? Because people love the models. The quality, it could be the quality of the miniatures, and it could be the quality of the universe, if you want to say it like that. But people paint, I forgot, I never know the stat, but I don't even know how the stat came about, but it's sort of like accepted that maybe like 90% of people don't play. And I think lockdown is essentially showing that, or quarantine, corona, whatever you want to say, is essentially showing that for a lot of people, playing the game is less important than you would think, right? Let's read Just Cares message. 40k is expensive if you don't like it. Nobody who likes it is prevented. Yeah, no, I agree with you there. But I do have a bit of a problem with this. It's this phrase, essentially, not just you, Just Care. I don't mean to just call you out, but it's this concept, if you don't like it, don't pay for it, is a little bit problematic because of the concept of the necessary popularity of the game, right? if I wanted to play, I don't know, I can't try and think of a dead game. Let's imagine nobody plays Star Wars Legion. You might not do because you can't get any miniatures. Let's imagine nobody plays Star Wars Legion, right? But I want to play it. I want to play Star Wars Legion. No events are running. I don't know anybody in the local area who's playing it. What do I do? Oh, I get to paint the miniatures. Great, but I want to play the game. Oh, there's no tournaments. All right, maybe I've got to go to the US to play a tournament or whatever, right? It's not always the case that you can get away with just buying what you want and playing the games that you want. It's not always the case. Like, if you wanted to play Guild Ball for the next 3 years, you're probably going to have a bit of a bad time, because I'd be surprised if there's a Guild Ball tournament in 2 years' time. So, but maybe Guild Ball is your favourite game. So, popularity is important. Yes, I know Star Wars Legion. I don't really know 40k, so I never want to talk about the value and stuff like that, because I don't really know the universe. The people who complain about the prices don't play the game. I don't play the game. So again, I'm not necessarily trying to complain about the pricing necessarily, but I just want to say like how important the pricing actually could be. And that's because, let me read Thomas. Also, you could work out the value of the box. Yeah, I mean, some people will do that. Some people can work out the value of the box based on how many miniatures. Oh my God, it's gone off. Give me a second. Not charged up, is it? I haven't charged it. What an idiot. Get in there. Get in there. It's a bit brighter than it was. But yeah, I'm not really that interested in like counting them up too much. Yeah, because if it wants, so what will happen in this stream is that this light will get so full that it'll start flickering, and then I'll have to unplug it again. But it's a good light. Haley, let me have a drink. I've been rambling a little while here. Marcus, I have a Giant Kings of War army. We haven't got to play in Yules. I feel like I haven't got to play in years. I feel like a fool for all the time and effort I put in. It's only 40k now. And yet, Marcus, I think this sort of illustrates my point perfectly. Like, if the game, I mean, Kings of War is a relatively popular game. I think we can all agree, or most of us here have heard of it, if you've not played it. The popularity is important. It's weird for me to hear people say just buy what you want and play what you want, in a sense, because you can't always do that. Sometimes a little bit, if you want to play a wargaming game, you're a little bit forced by the game available to you. That makes sense. And it's not Games Workshop's fault. Obviously, it's not Games Workshop's fault. It's so much as what do your friends play. So that, I mean, I agree with you there, Andy. But what I'm sort of, if you have a group of friends who are playing, then to some extent, the more popular game is the more obvious choice as well, because it's popular for a reason. Like, Games Workshop aren't popular because of the prices. Warhammer 40k is not popular because it's cheap. It's popular because it's a good game and people like it and the miniatures are good. So your friends gravitate to that. But if you don't want to play that game, you could be buggered, right? Now, there's a couple of games where, like, I'm not going to be able to play Guild Ball, but I can play Star Wars Legion. I could play Age of Sigmar. I could play 40k. I could maybe play Blood Bowl. There's some games that are on the table to me because of where we live and the group of people I could find. And yeah, I think popularity is just, it's more important than I think people give it credit for a subset of gamers. And the reason I know that is because I'm in that category. It's important to me. Necromunda, could I get a game of Necromunda? I have no idea if I could get a game of Necromunda. I just do not know the answer to that. Probably, maybe. It's a Games Workshop game, so I'd be pretty confident. We're not really discussing pricing. We're talking about how pricing essentially... we've not got to the actual caveat of this, which I think when you have your most popular category in a particular genre being not a monopoly, but being right up there in terms of popularity, Games Workshop 40k, one of the most popular games, I think there's a risk that Games Workshop being unappealing to a group of players who are interested in financial concerns, people who can't afford it, if they price themselves out of getting new players into the hobby and getting into wargaming, it could hurt wargaming. It's what I'm trying to say, but I'll get there in a minute. Jay will now explain. I will explain price elasticity and inelasticity in a moment. 40k is king in my group. Andy, I run the group and constantly try and get Blood Bowl Infinity, but I had to pull away from 40k. Yeah, but I mean, 40k is a great game, so it makes sense people want to play it. Sadly, when you have no friends available locally, you need to travel to events and play what they are running. Yeah, and if there aren't any like Necromunda events, you can't play it. So if you're in that group, you can love 40k, but if your group plays bolt action, then you're naffed, aren't you? My old group were heavy into Age of Sigmar. Yeah, and I know you. Well, I don't know you in this exact context, but I believe you played. You got your giants, didn't you? Whatever they're called. What are they called? The ogres. More whatever. You had an ogre faction. It's one of the first videos you did. By the way, if you're not following Blackjack Legacy, I've been carried away. I normally do this in every person who comes in, but I haven't done it today. So I've been getting carried away. Here, let me get a link. Blackjack Legacy. He does a much better, more coherent stream on a Monday. So if you aren't already following, I do highly recommend you go over. There you go, Beast Core Raiders. There you go. He didn't. I didn't watch your stream yesterday, Andy, but I'm sure it was way more coherent and concise than this. Absolute shambles of a rant. But I'll get into my points just slowly. So when we talk about price elasticity, just very briefly, Games Workshop, due to probably many different factors, if you increase, let's say, how to phrase this, you could sell 10 items at £1 each and make £10. Or you could sell 2 items at £20 each. Well, whatever. No, I didn't mean to say £20. I meant to say £10. And then you'd make £20. How you change your price affects your demand. And sometimes it's not necessarily a straight. It's not exactly like 1 for 1. Sometimes it can be a little bit shallower. I didn't explain that very well. Whatever. It's not necessarily relevant to what I'm talking about at this moment, but we'll get there. I do agree, ambassadors of the game are super important, and I actually want people to take away from this more that I think we need to start championing other games, not just because you don't like Games Workshop. Like I personally hold no ill will or anything to Games Workshop. Whenever I criticize them, I'm just criticizing the concepts. As a company, I have no ill will to them. Was a little bit salty when they got rid of fantasy, but I've got over that now. And I hope they do well. If anything, I hope they grow the genre, right? But my worry is that as the top dog, if the prices keep going up and up, what might happen is that it hurts wargaming. Now, I know it sounds unrealistic, but because of the popularity, right, and I don't think this is going to happen. Let me just clarify this. I don't think this is necessarily a problem, but it does matter in this sense. If Games Workshop right now completely tripled their prices, right, a lot of people would be salty and people would stop buying them. And eventually another game would probably come in and get in there, right? Eventually. But in the short term, you'd have a bit of a gulf. You'd have a bit of a gap in the market, basically. Star Wars Legion is good. Bolt Action is good. Do they have the resources to match 40k's level of development? 40k miniatures? No, not really. Like, no. They don't do it now. It would take a long time to ramp that up. And it would be spreading around all of the other games. So Games Workshop are in a unique position that they are essentially, they're leading the way in terms of wargaming. And I want, and I'm sure we all want, wargaming to be successful and good. And a good, something you can do more frequently. We want it to be more popular. We want it to be better. We want it to be good, right? So I'm all for Games Workshop leading the charge. Somebody would be. There'd always be a number one. But it's interesting to me that there's a bit of a like conceptual thing that Games Workshop are perceived as expensive. Whether or not it's true or not basically almost doesn't matter. If people think they're expensive, they, for all intents and purposes, are expensive. It's the concept that's sort of relevant. If a train is headed for 50 miles an hour and you buy a toothbrush at Boots, well, you then open a new Woolworths, which isn't coming back, but people seem to think it is. But there you have it. What sucks about GW and their games is that they deliver products that sell it on day one. Well, that's never happened in Dominus. In video games, discussion of raising prices comes up and everyone loses their mind. Plastic crack always wins. I mean, they're entitled to do what they want to some extent. GW is giving other companies room to raise their prices. We're seeing, for sure, I completely agree with that, by the way. Star Wars Legion, when they went from the I forgot what it's called, the like resin kind of miniatures to plastic molded miniatures, prices went up. Do you know what I mean? You can't necessarily hit the level of quality that Games Workshop do without increasing your prices, because you need the injection molds and all that kind of stuff. So for sure, whether or not it leads to more profit, I honestly have no idea. But as most of the games need less miniatures, true. And I actually did on, I'm not sure what channel it was, I've had too many, but I did a comparison about a 40k army versus a Star Wars Legion army, right? And when I looked at the price per miniature, it was about the same. I think it was something like maybe $2.50 for a Games Workshop miniature and maybe £2 for a Star Wars Legion miniature. But really, the key thing was, when I looked at tournament winning lists, or the top 3 at a tournament, I looked at both. The cost on Games Workshop was like £500 versus like £200 for Star Wars Legion. Just came down to the number of miniatures, really. But Games Workshop don't want you to have a small amount of miniatures. That's why I think they sabotaged Kill Team, but never mind. And that's a fair point, Mac Dan Sav. They don't produce everything in the UK, I believe, but they do produce some stuff in the UK, and it's more expensive to produce stuff in the UK. As Andy Riley says, it's a lot of people don't. I very nearly, before I stopped doing the other channel, I almost made a video that said, should we give credit to Games Workshop for manufacturing in the UK, right? And I was like, I ain't touching that with a barge pole, because people will be like, oh, you're saying stuff offensive about China. Well, the Chinese would, but whatever. I didn't. Whatever. Yeah, but the only big terrain is China, I think. There you go. But we should give credit, I think, to Games Workshop for manufacturing in the UK. And it's not. I'm British. It's not because it's the UK specifically. It's because that's where they're based. But I think we should give credit to them for not manufacturing in China, basically. I do believe that to be the case. They've got 2 factories in the UK. Yeah, and that's, I think, one reason that you saw that very swift reaction with Indomitus that they managed to do was because they control their own manufacturing and their export and all that kind of stuff. They knew they could do that within 120 days. I think that's how long it took. They said they could have it sorted in 120 days. Fair play. Like, they've got that ability to do that. And that obviously cost them money to do that, but they obviously deem it worth it. So in that sense, good on them. As I said, I personally have no ill will against Games Workshop. But there is a perception, rightly or wrongly, that they are expensive, right? And I do worry about the health of Wargaming when your number one company is perceived as being expensive. Now, does that actually matter in terms of like other genres of stuff like that? Yes, because of that popularity thing. Because when it comes to phones, does it matter that an iPhone is $1,000? No. Not really. I can buy the Pixel for $600, or I can buy a Huawei or a Chinese phone for like $300. And also, it doesn't matter if my phone's good and yours is bad. We can still text and talk and stuff like that. There's no real problem with that. So I'm not really sure if there is a comparison between this where the product is dependent on its popularity. There's probably like some for video games. Somebody mentioned video games, and I reckon like in maybe like MMOs and online games, if you don't have enough people playing your online game, then it quickly becomes less interesting to people. So I think maybe that would be one example. That's maybe one of the only other examples I can think of. Should we as players start implementing more accessible homebrew or Warhammer type stuff? Dashing Legendary. I mean, I don't want to take away Games Workshop profits. that's not what I like even would conceptually even want to try and do. But I do think that if you are a new player coming into wargaming, you have, let's say you're interested in wargaming, you've heard about it, maybe you've played D&D or whatever, you're interested in the miniatures, and you come to wargaming. What are my options? Oh, Games Workshop. Oh, don't get Games Workshop, mate. They're well expensive. Why? How much is it? Oh, it's 85 quid for 15 guys. And they might be like, oh, the big giant's 120 quid, and you can get 3 of them from Mantic. That's the same size for 20 quid or whatever it is. And you're like, oh, Games Workshop sound expensive. And then somebody would be like, yeah, but we all play 40k. No, we all play 40k. Every Tuesday we play 40k. Well, okay, I'll play 40k. But like, yeah, it's an interesting situation. I think they are profit driven. Absolutely. Also, again, by the way, I have no problem with a company being profit driven. That's what a business is. Otherwise, you're a charity or a non-existent thing. So being profit driven is also completely fine. I'm being focused to constantly update my armies because they nerf them. Whether or not some of the business practices that they do are reasonable is debatable. I've often complained. By the way, that Gaz Thraka guy, here, let's show you. Gaz Thraka was available in the thingy box. I forgot what it was. Not Indomitus. There was a Space Wolves versus Orc box, and it was available in that, right? And I think that box was like 100 quid, maybe something like that. Now he's available for 40 quid, and that's like 6 months after it came out. I mean, it's a bit weird. If you wanted him 6 months ago, you had to buy a box that was 120 quid. I mean, you could argue about the morality of that, but I'm not necessarily slagging them off. The Prophecy of the Wolfbacker, thank you, that's what it was called. 20 quid for a paintbrush, also, yeah, I mean, there are some things which I think are sort of like very obviously overpriced, right? Probably even some of the miniatures, but it's not necessarily that important for specific things. By the way, I didn't realize he had the little metal thing on his base. Forge World I sort of understand because they're not going to sell as much. I can agree with that bit. I don't mean to take away, just trying to help. Yeah, no, Daesh, yeah, like, that's the thing. There's Grim Dank, is it? Grim Dank, whatever it's called. That's a sort of like free spin-off version of the game. You could very easily play that for free with like paper miniatures, right? It all depends on where you get your enjoyment and what you get your enjoyment from. And value is such a like subjective thing that I'm not here really to talk about it in too great a detail. As I said, like 25 quid for a brush might be a bit on the expensive side. But then again, if it was a really, 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 really good brush, would you be that bothered? You started the hobby early this year. All I know is that my experience just getting getting the start collecting Primaris set, and 4 of the basics was about 450 for the lot, paint not included. I do think Games Workshop have a bit of a problem with getting new players into a full army, and I sort of feel like Kill Team was essentially going to stop them from doing that. Hey, look, I almost got to the point, so let me get to the point. And my point was basically that. Well, I think I did get there. Did I not already get there? The point is, pricing is important for the main. Let me start that again. I didn't really nail it very well. Right, we agree. Games Workshop is the most popular game maker in wargaming. As such, that popularity is important for wargaming. If they overprice things, there will then be a perception, rightly or wrongly, that could decrease the popularity of wargaming. That's what I'm trying to say. I want that. Yeah, it's 42 quid. It's too expensive. It was very expensive to get into, and feel like there's a whole conversation here about what value is to certain people. Are there people who are playing 40k who can't afford 40k? Yes. Is that a problem for Games Workshop? No. They're not responsible for that. sadly, I'm not saying you can't afford it, Phil. I'm not picking on you particularly, but is the fact that Games Workshop have high prices in general, just in terms of like, not even relative to the competition, but just in general to maybe like video games and stuff like that, 400 quid for an army, is that a problem? Personally, I think yes. I think we should be. I would like to see more of a focus be on the skirmish stuff, but why would Games Workshop do that when they'd rather sell you 400 quid's worth of models rather than 40 quid's worth of models? So I mean, I don't have the solution, but just play Monopoly instead. That's not too bad of an option. The popularity is important to bringing people into wargaming, and the prices go. Yeah, oh my, Raphael's smarter than I am. Raphael, get on the stream. I need Raphael. Yeah, perfect. Exactly what I'm trying to say, but badly. The popularity is important to bring people into wargaming. Games Workshop's popularity is important to bring people into wargaming, and their prices will scare new players. Now, that doesn't mean it's correct. Doesn't mean that should be the case. Doesn't mean that Games Workshop are expensive. It's just the fact that you can see stuff like 85 quid for 15 guys and be like, God, I absolutely can't afford it. Never played it. I just enjoy the hobby. Yeah, Phil, that makes complete sense. I understand that situation completely. Why 39? Nobody watch 39 if you don't watch me talk about bloody terrain. But so there is another question for Phil specifically. Now, Phil, I'm using you specifically, I do apologize, but I do wonder when we also get to a point where a 3D printer becomes value for money. Now, let's say a resin 3D printer in a minute's like 200 quid. That's what, 5 gold gas trackers, right? At some point, for the hobbyists, will there be an alternative that price Games Workshop out of it in that sense? But the reason I'm not necessarily concerned about that for Games Workshop is that people still need the game. So it's a very interesting thing. Don't pick on Phil. I'm sorry, Phil. I love you, Phil. I think the painting hobby are way more intimidating than the pricing. I agree with you as well there, Marcus. I actually think one thing I would love to see, and let's get this up on the screen. When we're talking about pricing, you know what game I really, really wish was like probably the most popular game? And that is... Well, actually, I wish it was Batman Miniatures game because I love Batman. But, nice and... Right. I think Mantic has priced GW out of Fantasy. Well, they're coming back, so we'll see. It's my next purchase, honestly. I've painted all the stuff I like and is affordable. So, Phil, you're saying a 3D printer is your next purchase. I mean, Phil, this is my perfect example today. Yeah, like, I think it makes sense. If you are a hobbyist, why now would you not get a 3D printer when you can design and buy the miniatures you want and print them the way you want them? And it's getting questionable, I think. I agree with you there, Jimmy, and that's why I'm trying not to talk about specific pricing, because even I have spoke about it to death, and it's not something I was trying to bring up on its own. I was trying to talk about the concept that the pricing of wargaming is important. The pricing of wargaming is important. I haven't talked in the stream yet. Here I am. Hi, Cohen. I hope you're doing very well. What's that other sci-fi game that sells well? Infinity? No, I mean, Infinity is not as popular as Star Wars Legion, just to let you know. But Infinity is a reasonably popular game. And yeah. We keep paying, so do we keep doing what they want? I completely agree with you there, Chibi, and I wouldn't want to stop them. They're completely entitled to do whatever they want, right? What I personally would have liked to... My ideal popular game is like a mid-sized game where the miniatures are one piece, right? I really want one-piece miniatures. I don't care about the hobby. Personally, as a gamer, I do not care about the hobby, right? I just can't bring myself to care about it. I just don't care. I've got no interest. Now, the sculpts here, these are one-piece miniatures that you can get in coloured plastic. They would generally typically be referred to as board game minis, right? Not necessarily in a derogative way. But these are completely acceptable for me. Like, these are completely fine. I would love to see One Piece Games Workshop miniatures. I like balls to it. That is what I personally would want. But I don't. I'm not going to get what I want. But it is what it is. That would be your jam. Yeah, I actually think it would be my jam. I actually really think it would. You know why I don't play? I'll come back at that. So come back, Dante, because I sort of agree with you. It's a little bit of a weird, thing I have. I don't care about painting miniatures, but I like terrain. I can't tell you why that is. That is just what I like. Yeah, but One Piece miniatures would be absolutely superb for me. I do not care about painting miniatures like at all. I don't care about it. I hate it. I just don't like doing it. I don't find it enjoyable, and people spend so much effort to become so good at it, and I'm like, why are they so good and I'm so crap? Like, you know, there you go. Man plays Minecraft to build a world. Yeah, man plays Minecraft to build a world. I'm not interested in building people. So 90s Warhammer were armies were a lot smaller, and most figures were 1 or 2. Yeah, exactly. That for me, that's my ideal game, right? You've seen my Legion stuff. I've done battle reports with unpainted miniatures, so you know I don't care about the miniatures, right? I just care about the game. It is what it is. I'm trash at painting. I agree with you, Cohen. I'm absolutely trash at painting. I'm just terrible. Can't paint to save my life. Honestly, I'm garbage. Can't paint. For the longest time, he hated painting miniatures until he found the thing to motivate him. Now, Edward, I do sort of Dark Elves. when and if Dark Elves come back for the old world, oh boy, I'll pay whatever Games Workshop selling that for. Like, thank you. But Mac, it was very simple. But I will pay whatever Games Workshop asks for Dark Elves, right? Because I love them. So whatever, there you have it. Do I think the advent of 3D printers on the market? Yeah, I do. I 100% do think that 3D printing must worry Games Workshop because of that reason that we spoke about before. If their audience is primarily mostly based on people for the hobby, at some point your game becomes less important and the miniatures are more important, and then you can print your own miniatures essentially to whatever standard of quality you like. There is a limit. You know, obviously a resin Elegoo Mars isn't going to print a Games Workshop Space Marine as well as a Games Workshop miniature, but it's getting close. Yeah, so if anything, I would expect to see a focus more on the game. But if you're going to have a focus more on the game, then having 100 miniatures that cost £5 a pop for a £500 army would be mental, right? So there you go. Thank you, people that complimented my hand. Were you the fool who sold, I did not burn the Dark Elves, but I did sell them on eBay. Because I was like, balls to this kit. I was so salty. Like, by the way, I've said I hold no ill will to Games Workshop. I've just about got over them getting rid of fantasy. Like, I was so goddamn salty about it. So, I can't lie. I think a 3D printer is a great investment for club or games group so you can show the cost. I agree with you as well. If you've got a group of players... See, that's the thing about it. If you've got a group... And also, I talked about the hobbyist. Imagine you now have a group of you. There's 5 of you. You get together every other week or what have you. Now, let's say you don't go to tournaments. You could buy a 3D printer, print the models that are sort of Games Workshop inspired. Oh, what's that? Nobody cares because you don't go to a tournament. Games Workshop have lost £1,000. It is still early days, I do agree. But you've got to admit the technology and the prices are coming down, and the quality is going up. My biggest... Do I regret selling my Dark Elves? I probably do regret selling my Dark Elves. What I regret is actually not finishing my Dark Elves when the game was still around and not going to... I regret not going to Warhammer Fantasy tournaments with a fully finished Dark Elf army. That's what I regret. And will Games Workshop lose in the local stores? So, yes, the local stores are in a bit of a diabolical position at the moment, obviously, as well, because obviously you can't play there, so they're all online. Tic Tac says just popped in to say hi. Well, hi. I'm a little worried that GW is going to try and squeeze as much money as they can out of us. Yeah, so I've tried to be reasonable in terms of Games Workshop pricing and how I think it's. I hold no ill will to Games Workshop and stuff like that. Am I a little bit cynical in what I think they're doing? Yes. I do sort of agree with you. I think that they potentially have seen the writing on the wall in 10 years' time. And I think they'll see that the miniatures are less important to people in 10 years' time. And therefore, they're going to have to change towards the game. And I also think they're going to maximize profits knowing that that's a limit. Now, they're going to maximize profits anyway. But I think they're not worried about the sustainability of Wargaming. They're worried about the sustainability of them. And bye, whoever's going, by the way. Great lad. And hi, Johan, by the way. I regret not getting a commission painter to paint my minis earlier. Oh, yeah. I mean, honestly, if they do come out with Dark Elves, either I'll paint them badly, which sounds bad, or I might get a commission painter because I just want them. Wouldn't it cost a lot to get a 3D printer that's capable of quality minis? Cohen, if I'm honest, the resin printers, I mean, I'm sure somebody's done a comparison, but they're decent. I would say they're good. Right, if Games Workshop are amazing, great to amazing, then a resin 3D printer is okay to great. Like, they're actually good. The resin printers specifically are really good for miniatures. And it's only going to get better. So I do think why if local stores invest in 3D printing? See, that's interesting because I think eventually it's going to be a home technology that's just good enough to have at home. You've just finished building a brick wall out of spruce. There is a guy I was talking to, I can't remember the channel name. He's doing everything out of spruce and he made like a cool hut. It's pretty good. Tournament play will always need specific. Yeah, so that's a fair point, Greg. And that's one thing I think Star Wars Legion has very acutely said. Oh, by the way, thank you, Edward. Let's see if is this gonna play out. It's supposed to read it. Edward, thank you very much for the $5 he just said. My big work in progress is a mini agnostic skirmish game. Oh, you're actually making a skirmish game. Do you, so you could use the GW minis. How do you think Dark Elves should play when I design them?
My big WIP is a mini
Fast.
skirmish game.
Let's listen to it.
You could use GW minis if you want. How do you think should Dark Elves play when I design them?
Evil elves. So elves are like attack quickly, not very agile, so like dodgy, depending on the game, very quick as well, good movement. I'd quite like something evil, maybe something where they kill themselves, they sacrifice somebody. I'll turn it up after the stream, god damn it. It's difficult because I've got the music loud. I don't really know how to do it without it deafening everybody. But yeah, evil assassin. Ooh, stabby. I hope that summarizes my advice. Tournament play we always need. Oh yeah, so going back to tournament play. So for tournament play, like FFG for Star Wars Legion, you need the official components. Not only do you need the official movement guides and stuff like that. Yeah, you can get a piece of tape and measure it perhaps if you wanted. But you need the movements, you need the cards. You don't necessarily need all of the miniatures, but you need most of the miniatures, and then you can have some. And $5 well spent. I mean, with advice like that, could you go wrong? But I do think Games Workshop will essentially go the same way. But the downside with Games Workshop is that they don't have the organized play in place, in my opinion, to really maximize that. You've got Warhammer World events and the one that's in Texas, which I can't remember the name. Those events obviously will be all Games Workshop stuff. But the organised play outside of that seems to be more like community ran rather than say like top down. So I think they're going to probably have to focus more on that, just simply to enforce the fact it needs to be official Games Workshop products, is what I actually think. So many people are learning about 40k. Look at the YouTube reactions to fan content. 40k spreading in the masses. True, and I think one fantastic thing, as I said, I don't want to always talk negatively of Games Workshop. One fantastic thing they're doing is that animated series that they're doing. Personally, I'm not interested in the development of that. I just want to see the end result. But for me, I've never been able to get into 40k. I'm not interested in the code. I'm not a big reader, if I'm honest. So I'm not going to read the books. And if you're not going to read the books, how do you get into the lore? Oh, you're doing an animated series. There's games, but I'm not really interested in the games they've put out. Although Space Marine looked pretty interesting. But yeah, the animated thing, just whack that on for 20 minutes or whatever it is, do a series of that, 10 episodes. I think that's fantastic. That, in a sense, they are the leaders, and the onus is essentially on them to expand the market. And I think with the rise of D&D popularity, like Stranger Things and that kind of thing, that there's an expandable market right there. So hopefully they will do that. I love the Drow in D&D, and they're also Dark Elves. Yes. The Drow are also in Skyrim, aren't they? Or Elder Scrolls. GW stores not running regular virtual tournaments. So it always seems like, well, the problem with that is, Greg, they're not that big, are they? At least in the UK. If you ever go to a UK Games Workshop store, it's as big as this room. Okay, it's bigger than this room, but it's not that much bigger than this room. It's too small. They can't hold they couldn't even do a 16-person tournament. They could, if they did like skirmish games, they could maybe do like 8, and you could maybe have like a weekly 8, which would be pretty good. Hi, Alex, by the way. There is a new comic called oh yeah, so they're doing the Games Workshop comics again. Not something I'm personally interested in, but it's nice to see them expand like that. Just careful says what Monopoly. Somebody said I didn't see what Just Kev's message was about the Monopoly. There we go. I fear. Oh, I didn't even see that message. Sorry. I fear the local hobby shops may not survive COVID pandemic. Only strengthening GW's hand keeping the monopoly going. So COVID is a problem. Wow, Jay. Wow. I mean, wow. Have you ever heard anything as astute as that? COVID is a problem, guys. 5 ed. What a 5 ed. But it's specifically a problem in terms of wargaming, because obviously it's a physical activity, and you've seen the rise of profits from like EA and stuff like that. They're making hand over fist in terms of money because people are staying in, therefore they're doing activities like at home. It's a little bit of a shame, because it felt like recently that there was a bit of a trend towards more analog activities like wargaming, D&D, board games and stuff like that. It feels like COVID is just like just going to knock everything down a peg or two, which is always a problem. And competitive gaming is a long way. I am so goddamn desperate for a Star Wars Legion tournament. I cannot even tell you. Like, I really want to go play Star Wars Legion tournament. It's not like the game's fine. I'm not going to claim that the game is so amazing that I want to play it. It's not even the game. It's the atmosphere of a tournament. It's the meeting with people. It's the taking piss out of my friend because he put his Luke in a stupid place and he got shot in one turn or whatever. Like, I really want to go play a Star Wars Legion tournament. I'm not going to lie. Like, for me, that's why I play wargaming. Don't care about the miniatures. I just want to play the game. I care about the terrain. I honestly have no idea why that is. I couldn't even explain to you. I think it's just from my history of liking like scale electrics and being a little bit obsessed with that, rather than say like the miniatures. They're almost irrelevant to me. Can't tell you why. I miss that too. Kindred Spirit. Yeah, like it's just such a it's so good. It's the best thing about it for me. Like, because I don't have that group of friends who play. I don't have 5 or 6 people who I could, if I'm honest, if I wanted to be a bit, well, no, it's not a good time, but a month or two ago, I could have found a game of Star Wars Legion with 1 or 2 guys, right? But it's not the same. It's not the same. You got to go to a tournament. It's competitive. Like, at a tournament, like, it's friendly, but it's competitive. I like that. I like that a lot. I like that. I like being competitive. It's just, that's one thing I like. No idea why. I do agree the board makes it more like real as well. There's a buzz in the air. Well, I hope it's not static on the mic. I haven't played tournament minis, but I have played tournament video games, and it's 100% the same. Completely different to anything else. Yeah, for me, that's why I play, right? If I had to play Katie week in, week out, or I had to play Steve, John, and Bill, I wouldn't be playing wargaming for that long. I would have stopped. Quite frankly, it wouldn't have been for me. Yeah, I want the tournament, and that's why I know that the popularity of your game is important, because I know that, because I'm not interested in 40k, I'm not that interested in Age of Sigmar. Therefore, if I'm not interested in the games that have the most tournaments, what can I play? Well, let's say I picked the best game, Gaslands. I have no idea what that. I don't know who would try and say what the best game is, but A Song of Ice and Fire, Star Wars Legion, whatever. Let's say you pick those games, right? You need to be able to. I need to be able to play the game. Oh, duh. I need to be able to play the game. If I can't get a game of the game that I want to play, I'm not going to play the game. I quite literally, if 40k was the only game that had tournaments, it's the game I would play. I do not care about it that much at all, but I would play it. Now, Kill Team is interesting, and I'll get on to Kill Team in a second. How does Tabletop Simulator affect Wargaming? I actually don't think it does, because I think if you want to play a video game or you want to play online, then you play a video game. It's just better. I do think Tabletop Simulator is good, and it's a decent replacement, especially in these kind of times. And it is a good replacement. It's not necessarily a replacement. I'd say it's a good alternative in certain specific times. I personally have no problem with it. It feels completely different to me, and as long as you treat it differently, I think people are happy. The Murder Hornets, I think, are coming to kill us all. True. Tabletop Simulator is a good game, but it's not going to replay. Yeah, sort of what I agree. It's good, but it's not going to replay it. The best game is Connect 4. What if we create Connect 5? What did I say I was going to get back to? Kill Team. Kill Team. Right. Talking about conspiracy theories, right? As I said, I don't hold any ill will against Games Workshop, but I do have a bit of a conspiracy theory, which, depending what they do with the new Kill Team announcement, I had a theory that Kill Team was doing so well that they cancelled it. And you're probably like, Jay, that makes no sense. But this honestly was my theory, and I still sort of believe it to an extent, right? I'm not playing tiddlywinks. Because the sales of Kill Team couldn't be differentiated between the sales of 40k, right? Now, they will have short-term have seen an increase in 40k, but I think that Games Workshop thought, and maybe they still do, that if you have a really, really, really popular skirmish game based on 40k, so much so that people who play 40k actually play the skirmish game instead of 40k, I think they think that's a problem. And I think that's why they've done Combat Patrol, because they were like, people want a skirmish game, but we need to get them to play the full 40k, so they buy more of the miniatures. That's honestly what I believe. Now, it's probably incorrect, but it's firmly what I believe. Kill Team 2 is 9th edition update. It's just an add-on. Yeah, I suspect it's going... I don't even know what it's going to be. I suspect it might even just be a new box, and that might be it. But we'll see. With negative interest rates, they couldn't afford to keep the money in the bank. Yeah. Can I get paid to borrow? Well, I'd have to pay it back anyway. But if I paid it back quickly enough, I could make money. We're not talking about... I did a really bad job of explaining price and elasticity. With negative interest rates, I've already replied to that. So yeah, I mean, price and elasticity was interesting, because it's like Games Workshop obviously have price inelastic items, which means they can increase the price of them and the sales do not correspond. There's not a dramatic drop in sales when they increase the price. Now, is there ever an example? I don't know if there's an example of a tipping point. From all my examples, like in university and stuff like that, generally it's a linear line. You know what I mean? It crosses over like this. It's generally linear and straight. Will it get to it? But it must actually be. I suspect it's a curve. The examples were just boring. But I suspect that there will come a point where actually, instead of not losing players, they'll start actually losing players, and there'll be a tipping point. But they're not at it yet, so we'll see. Wait, what did I say? A linear curve? A linear line? I don't know. I'm tired. Don't ask me questions. But yeah, how many of you... I'm curious. YouTube doesn't let me do a poll. But how many of you would play a war game that was the most popular war game if it had one-piece miniatures? So let's say 40k right now. If 40k was one-piece miniatures, would you play it? Now, that's either do you currently play 40k, or would you not play 40k, but you would consider it if they did one-piece miniatures? I would definitely be in the... I think I would play 40k. If they did one-piece miniatures for 40k, I think I'd jump into it. And that's probably mad, but I think I honestly would, because I just can't be bothered with the hobby and stuff. Games Workshop range where they are now selling miniatures cheaper than last year. What? Cheaper than they've decreased prices? What? It's fine. I just want people to play with it. I agree with you, Marcus. Don't get me wrong. For me, that's why I would play 40k if they went to One Piece. It would be the nice, perfect balance between them. He knows too much. He must be deleted. Delete. I would play it, but I would not prefer it. Fair enough. I think it would have to depend on the sculpts themselves and how much hobby I still do, since I think I enjoy the hobby more than the game. True, I think you're probably in the majority, Joe and Daka. I think you probably still play, but maybe not be as excited about it. I'd play with One Piece miniatures. It works for Legion. Well, Mac, they've changed in Legion. They've gone to like sprues, haven't they? Which is one thing I actually don't enjoy about it. But no problem with One Piece. God tier has One Piece minis, and they're nice sculpts. I just want to paint them and play. I'm all about the play. The paint bit, I'm not bothered. Edward, well, yeah, you need good rules and a relatively balanced game. I mean, you're obviously not playing you're not playing 40k then. You could just pay someone to assemble and maybe paint your miniature. Hey, I'm not rich enough, man. I'm not rich enough. I mean, thanks to yourself, I'm getting there, but I'm not rich enough yet. But yeah, I mean, what game do you play then, Edward, if you don't mind me saying? If you want a good, what game do you want? X-Wing? That's what game you should be playing. I already have. I played that. Oh, well, Greg, you're ahead of us. Inquisitor basically was a One Piece game. Oh, I mean, Inquisitor. I like the sound of that. People with the conversions and be like people with collectors or foil playing cards. Yes, that's exactly what I wish. I almost wish that they sold two versions of a miniature, like a One Piece or even a painted One Piece, which I appreciate would be heresy, and then like the full-on sprues. Like, I just don't, because I don't care about it, like, it's not what I want, but I appreciate that is what some people want. So please just give me the pieces to play the game, and people can print out whatever they want. Yeah, I completely agree with that. 40k still has One Piece minis in the guard. What? How do you know this, Steve? They've still got One Piece minis. Literally did not know that. I used to play War Machine and ooh, are you playing not Warcaster? Warcaster? Is it Warcaster? What's the new game? The Privateer Press new game. Is it Warcaster? It feels like Warcaster. It's not Warframe. Oh, I don't know. Hey, Reaper Bones. I've got some Reaper Bones minis. Oh, where are they? 1 second. 1 second. They're not the right minis. Balls. Balls. I think my actual Reaper Bones are downstairs. I bought some D&D, you can't see that. Oh my god, I bought some D&D miniatures. This is actually Pathfinder, I appreciate that. But minis, because I've made my D&D terrain. But I can't find my minis. My friends play D&D, so I'm actually just going to see if my friend wants this, probably. It's my skeleton cave. Who's burning what? Steel Legion is mostly One Piece. Just spray them green of tan and play Army Men. Well, I would do that. Just started diving into Oathmark and I wish more people played it. Popularity is important. The game seems super solid for now. It's just a long hobby. Yeah. Convince your wife. It makes sense. I love those D&D minis. I will eventually paint them with contrast paints. The new Bones black material is pretty nice. Try the Owlbear. Ooh. Ooh. That was last time took me a while, Mac. The video will be out on Friday, guys. Whenever I presumably I've not finished it. I just hope it will be. Maybe I'm just being a grumpy old man, but I don't find the new easy to build kits from GW very nice or very easy at all. I like them. But why specifically do you not like them? You buy and paint Reaper miniatures and I don't even play D&D. Oh, I'll have to get them out. Joe, if you're in the UK, I bought that skull from Wilco's, which everybody in the UK calls Wilkinson's, even though it is Wilco's. Oh, that is what it is. £3 it was. Yeah, there you go. Can confirm about Bones Black as somebody who gets super annoyed at bendy weapons. The Reaper Black minis are great and still pretty cheap. Cool. Are they primed black? Because I believe, I don't know if they are, but a lot of them these days are sort of primed, aren't they, already? So you can just paint them straight out of the box. I would maybe, if I'm going to use contrast, I might spray them white anyway, but no, it's a different material. Oh, right, okay. Synthetic black miniatures. Considering when we're talking about Reaper Bone, black is straight in there. Synthetic, how is your game coming along? Have I got the right person? Just throwing that out there, could be completely wrong. It's not hard plastic, but it still suffers. It's stiffer than the normal Reaper. There you go. I don't like how closely you have to follow the instructions. They are weird random pieces rather than big pieces. This just got me onto another thing with Games Workshop that I don't particularly like. It's not even the fact that the miniatures aren't one piece, even though I would prefer one piece miniatures. It's more the fact that there's so much detail on a Games Workshop miniature, which a lot of people love. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, Games Workshop miniatures, oh, look at all that detail. Oh, how crispy that detail. Oh, it's so good. And I look at it and I think, oh, look at all that detail. Look how detailed it is. Look how many pieces there are. And Space Marine's not even that bad. But like, I look at it and I'm like, I'm going to have to paint that. Do you know what I mean? I just find it sad. Bones doesn't need primer, just scrub with a soap. I will do. Doing well. Just finish your urban terrain. What did you make? I claim to intend to play 40k, but really I just have the miniatures. For the longest part, that's what I thought I was going to do. You have them in various stages of degrees of conversion and paint. I really enjoy the hobby side of things, but probably because I haven't played yet. Yeah, and weirdly, isn't wargaming such a strange hobby in that you have to basically go through so much effort to try out the game in many places. If you want to go to a tournament, you pretty much have to have your tournament list, right? And your tournament models, and they have to be painted, otherwise you're going to get deducted 10 points or whatever in some places. That's why I actually think like skirmish versions of games and combat patrols and that kind of stuff is fantastic. And obviously you can get demo games in stores and that kind of stuff, but I have never had a demo game. Oh, do you remember when I talked about the light flickering? That's what it's doing now. But I've never had a demo game. Whoa, did I just turn that off? What? Oh, I pressed the wrong button. Yeah, I've never had a demo game of any game. Now, I did go to the UK Game Expo, right? Oh, could you see? I'm stuttering a little bit. I did go to... Can you see that? Let me just see if I can fix that. I don't know why it's doing that. Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, I've never had a demo game. I think there's a... Oh, you said comment. I don't even know why. 100% agree. A low entry into the game system that can expand rather than needing to be replaced. Yeah, so... That's why Combat Patrol is actually good, right? But as I said, I have a bit of a conspiracy theory that I think that Games Workshop have no... They don't want their skirmish game to be better than their actual game, which I think Kill Team is a better game than 40k. Having not really played 40k, bear that in mind. I'm not trying to claim something I don't know. But I do think, like, the I go, you go is more in place in Kill Team. Obviously, it's like, I do all my movement, you do all your movement, and then I go, you go kind of thing. It's a better rule set in concept to me. I just hate the I do everything, you do everything market, but there you go. Games. Market for GW to sell repainted minis, even partially painted. Yeah. Would they? I don't like... There is a market, but the cost would increase, therefore it'd be even worse. You were doing buildings, rubble, and objectives. Oh, cool. I don't play either of them actively anymore, but having played both of them in the past, I agree Kill Team is better than 40k in almost every way. Yeah, like, I just seemed so to me. Pre-painted, not repainted. To be fair, I read it in my head as pre-painted, even though I said repainted. But yeah, it would just increase cost. And they're not... If they're already quite expensive as they are, then they're not going to want to do that. I'd buy more if they came painted. Yeah, but they'd be more expensive. So that'd be a problem. Surprising they wouldn't want money unless Kill Team is a massive loss leader for them. So my problem with that is like, it's all, I don't know how they would have got the data. So I don't know if it's pure speculation. But the point is, I think it's very interesting and noticeable that Combat Patrol leads into 40k regular. It is 40k. Combat Patrol is 40k. The rules are pretty much the same, right? Aren't they? It's 50 points or whatever it is. The missions are maybe a little bit different. It's played on a smaller board, but the rules aren't different. Kill Team, and I know this is shocking, is not Combat Patrol. Kill Team is its own thing. The rules are different. The gameplay is different. But they use the same miniatures, right? If Kill Team is better than Combat Patrol and therefore 40k, I think they were probably like, what if everybody just stopped playing 40k and played Kill Team? We would not be selling £500 worth of miniatures. We'd be selling £80 worth of miniatures. Get rid of him. We must get rid of the Kill Team. Although they're bringing Kill Team back, so I could actually be completely wrong. But, you know, there you go. I wonder if they record how many people play what in the game stores. I mean, it'd be a bit freaky if they did that. In the UK, you've got like right to information, so we could all find out if they know what they know about us. Maybe I should put in a Freedom of Information Act on Games Workshop and see what they know about me. Jason Cunliffe, what do you know about him? I have interest in Star Wars Legion, but I feel like I can bang out a bunch of Stormtroopers pretty easy and won't be compelled to do any conversion. I mean, people don't generally convert that much in Star Wars Legion. A few head swaps. Really, it's the paint schemes that are the interesting bit. Jay, but how much would you save on paint? Ugh, true, but I've already bought all the paints. So how much would I actually save? I already have all the paints and the brushes. I still wish they would make Kill Team a true easier entry point, but something where you have to buy multiple. Yeah, oh god. I said I don't mind Games Workshop, but I think the way that they did the sales model for Kill Team was pretty garbage. I've said that many times. How do they know what people are using them for? Exactly. What, Yuan, I agree with you. They didn't, which I actually think is probably more of a problem. Hi, Major League Nerd. They would sell Space Marines and they wouldn't know why you were buying them. But I think they were like, well, if we don't know how many of them are buying them, how will we know if we are hindering 40k? Oh, we won't know if we're hindering 40k. That sounds like a problem. That's what I think. They don't allow non-GW games, and even then only noobs who spend money plus Warhammer World isn't policing their board. I've never even been to Warhammer World, I don't even know why. They did a bunch of repackaged stuff for Kill Team 2. Yeah, so in the repackages, by the way, I really, just randomly, I'm going to show you this. I really enjoyed them doing the Warcry repackaging. This is how it should have been sold. This is how it should have been sold. You should only have been able to play with the miniatures you can get here. I think that would have been fantastic. I actually think that Warhammer Underworlds is probably the best sales model that they could have done for a Kill Team style game. And I wouldn't be surprised, and it's not going to be Kill Team, so I'm not expecting this for maybe 2-3 years, is if we see a Warhammer Underworld-esque game for 40k, where it's actually like specific miniatures. That's what I would have personally have liked to have seen. I think if Kill Team would have been, here's 5 models. You've got Steve, Dan, and Bob, and Bill, and John. Sorry, Steve. I think that would have been fantastic. That's why Conquest died, as it was negatively affecting sales by all the games for cheaper than Games Workshop. Yeah. Makes sense. GW repackaging is the only way they can lessen the price of their models without upsetting their shareholders. Then technically it's a new product, but they are usually pretty... Yeah, that might be the case. That's true. That may be why they keep the games keep changing. You need new models. I mean, they do have... they just get to do whatever they like. So they can do Warcry now, and in 2 years' time we'll be talking about Mordheim. And then they'll go back to Warhammer Underworlds, and I don't know, like... It is very interesting. I just really like the way that they repackage these. I think this kind of repackaging is fine. It's good. By the way, I don't like this. Talking about terrain. Let's talk about terrain. Games Workshop terrain, pretty expensive if we're honest, guys, but it is good quality. But I don't like terrain on sprues, and I've mentioned that before. Like this looks good, 55 quid. It's fine. Or you can just follow my little like modular walkway system and pay maybe like 10 quid. Well, it's not as good, but it's cheaper, isn't it? Mordheim. Mike Defo, somebody once told me that GW are a company that sells models and sometimes does rules. Yeah, I think that a lot of people have that opinion. I think it probably is true. And they make models and people paint the models, and then they have a game that is essentially a reason to do that. Why don't you cut it off the sprue? Thanks, Steve. I hadn't thought about that, Steve. Thanks. The reason I know that is when I was doing my Warcry set and when I was doing the Kill Team set, I bought them both. So Games Workshop have got the claws into me. Like my baby at the minute is grabbing people's face. She's like doing this on my face and like grabbing my. Anyway, Games Workshop got the claw. I bought the Kill Team starter box and I bought the Warcry starter box. Don't play either of them anymore. But when I was making that terrain, I got so good. I'm annoyed. There you go. I think with terrain, a lot of the fun comes from making your own. Yeah, I completely agree with you. I enjoy making my own. So there we have it. And getting them off, just cutting them off sprues. I think making your own terrain feels like converting miniatures, but it's easier to do than converting miniatures because there's less like concept involved. Whereas making terrain on sprues just feels like soulless. The end result is great, but the getting there is tedious. It's like clip this, put part 12 with 13B. It's a snooze fest, isn't it? I think for a bit, the guy who was in charge had explicitly said that GW's goal was to sell models, not rules. But since then, they are much better now with the rules. I completely agree with that as well. I don't know if they intentionally did that, but they are generally better with rules now. I think you can see a trend towards better rules, which is good and should have happened a long time ago. Just trying to get Major League Nerd's YouTube channel, who's been making some terrain. You made an orc watchtower and an orc ruins. Oh, orc ruins! I found it. So you should go and subscribe if you are interested in terrain. So there we go. I mean, that's how Warhammer Fantasy started. GW was a model company. True. They were literally a model company for D&D, weren't they? They essentially made D&D miniatures. Basically. And they decided to make more rules. It completely worked. Terrain on sprues, big minis, or small IKEA. What? Sprue terrain is just more painting of miniatures, which is usually my least favourite part of the process. Yeah, maybe that's why I really strongly dislike it. It really gets on my nerves. You can convert sprue terrain, but you need a hobby saw, etc. Yeah, it's boring as well. That's the problem. Ye old TSR reseller. Thanks, man. I haven't had the chance to make a new video, but hopefully later this week. It's been great. It takes me ages to make terrain. Everybody like that school took me ages. Do you remember? When did I start that? 2 weeks ago. Yeah, 2 weeks ago I started that piece of terrain. That's how long it's taken me to finish it. It's taken me to goddamn crap. I'm actually just diabolical, aren't I? Up again. I'll show it up again. And technically it's not even finished. But I think it took me like 2 weeks. I literally started this 2 weeks today. I should have put some fillings in the back. Should I get some silver and put thingy? I got all 3 fingers left, guys. It's a spitting image. I will say, because I've not dry brushed it back up, the highlights are very subtle, but I really like it, so I'm going to leave it. Just the way that it goes. It's the skull of my enemy. Who is my enemy? Whoever came up with painting miniatures. It does. I do think it looks good, if I'm honest. I don't want to big myself up, but there you go. It does look great. Still think if you need to give it a proper. I did. So Steve, you didn't necessarily know this, but I did do a little bit of a brown wash on that in places. Luke says, have you thought about making a tutorial about line of sight blocking terrain, buildings like industrial complex? So for me, I think the easiest way of doing line of sight blocking terrain, building ruins, or just buildings like foam board or XPS foam, and then hills and rocks. Everything else I think looks weird. You can get some really big industrial pieces of terrain. For example, Dark Matter Workshop, who I started off talking about him, just put out a video where he makes a tower out of a water gun. You know, people have done that before. Black Magic Crash has done that before. Doing that, you get some really big boy pieces of terrain. Otherwise, I feel like it's a lot of effort, and I'm all about no effort. So there we go. Hey, the shipping The shipping crates were good. Where are they? Now, this will block line of sight to... I don't know if this will work. Whoop, whoop. It'll block line of sight to a Space Marine, but it wouldn't block line of sight to some... Oh God, I cannot figure out which way the camera is. But it wouldn't block line of sight to something much bigger. Endor trees are cool, but they're not actually that wide. Wouldn't actually do that good job of blocking line of sight to something big. This guy, how big is this guy? There, you could see his wing over it. Depends on like the size of them. These are easy conceptually, but time consuming. This took me hours, honestly, it took me hours to do this, and I don't even know why. Just to say, I want to show off my I really like this. I think even though it doesn't necessarily look particularly super realistic, I think this is a great design, if I do say so myself. Great design. Legend. The new ninth head rules. Oh, I've not actually checked the new ninth head rules. Duncan is my... Duncan. Do we all think Duncan left Games Workshop simply because of contrast paints? I love that as the theory. Duncan wrote. Maybe I know somebody who knows Duncan. And maybe I should try and interview him. When lockdown's over, and be like, Duncan Rhodes, you are my enemy. You have chosen 2 thin coats over 1 thick coat. I will have my revenge. Oh, I broke him. True. Couldn't handle it. You can make a decent sized Imperial bunker based off the 40k second ed terrain set. You've got some XPS form where bunkers a decent shout. Also depends on the rules of the game. For 9th edition, you can slap on the obscuring rule and you're good for LOS blocking. Yeah, in Legion, it's all based on true line of sight, so I know that's not necessarily relevant, but buildings are a classic one for Legion. I love Duncan. It's so nice seeing him paint other miniatures that aren't GW. Yeah, I mean, I do agree, and it makes sense. I think it's nice to see him spread his wings and not be beholden to the GW. It must have been a risky endeavor. I don't know. I don't want to talk about your finances. I obviously have no idea. Paint me home, Duncan Rhodes. I suspect Games Workshop he possibly didn't have enough to retire on, so it was a risky endeavor to do it. But obviously, it's paid off, and now he's his own boss and he can do what he likes. So, fair play. I completely respect that. And the man is obviously talented, both with the brush and with the voice. And that makes a difference. So, yeah. So, hopefully, when I was talking about the pricing, I don't want people to get the stick. And the problem is, I always come across like I hate Games Workshop. And I think it's because it's so easy to look at Games Workshop and point what they do wrong. Right? Was that the closing song? Not yet. It's very easy to look at Games Workshop and say, let's have a look. Let's see. I can say, hey, you're charging. Oh God, why is my big ass face in the way? Yeah, I can be like, you're charging £42 for this guy, and you can be like, oh, that's excessive. And you can be like, you're charging. Let me find it. You're charging £85 for 15 guys. 15 guys? I'm bloody furious, mate. 15 guys for 85 quid. What the hell? In a starting box, you can get a bloody Clone Wars set for that, and there's 40 miniatures in that. How much? I think a Clone Wars set is 40. That's where I got your link, Major League Nerd. Star Wars Legion Clone Wars. It's obviously not comparable, but I'm just curious. Oh, £69 Kappa. Let's have a look at this one. How many I don't know how many miniatures are actually in it. Anybody know how many miniatures are in this? I'm not going to count. There's a lot though, isn't there? Well, enough. It's okay to be critical of them while still acknowledging improvement, even if it's minimal. Yeah, no, 39 miniatures, right? You could be like, oh my God, your banner's fine. Send me that link. Wait, which one? The one to Major League Nerd? Did I not put it in the chat? I did, didn't I? Oh, do you mean the £69 one? Anyway, that's Major League Nerd. So, I can understand how people would be like you can get 39 miniatures in for £69, or you can get 15 guys for oh, thank you. Why? Well, the subscription shouldn't be coming on. I thought I turned that off. Don't know how that's happened. Also, the alert, the notification box isn't on. Either way, no, the Clone Wars starter set. Is it in stock? It is in stock. £69. I mean, just Google it, you lazy sod. There you go. Oh, it's a big link. It's too big. I can't send it you. Sorry, it's actually too big to go in. Let's see if I can delete the rest and see if it'll turn up when I search this. Will this work? Oh, I didn't hack it. Can't get it. It's too big. Sorry. Maximum professionalism. You know me. You know me. I find it funny that the terrain is far more expensive than the units, but people don't bother to paint them. Well, why spend all that money if you don't care about them that much? Are you talking about the units or the terrain? People don't paint terrain because it's not that interesting. I spend ages making terrain. I don't paint it that well because I don't care about it. How many miniatures do you need for a standard 40k game? I'm not 100% sure the answer to that, but I'd say it's approximately, for like a tournament one, probably between 40 to 100. Oh, so that's a much better answer. To be fair, they've changed the bracket thingy. You could have a 200 point army with maybe 20 to 30, or 200. Yeah. So I looked, as I said before, I looked at tournament winning lists from 3 different tournaments, and I looked at how many miniatures they had, and they basically all cost about $300 to $500, and the miniature count was approximately like 60 to 100. But there you go. No, it's more than that. Honestly, well, the thing is, Mac, a lot of the tournaments are actually 3k or 2.5. Really, I think realistically, if you want a full 40k army that's sort of decent, you can get cheaper ones by buying starter sets and stuff like that, but really you're looking at probably £200 to £400. I think realistically. You can run a very small list, right? But the giants are their own list. But the reality is, on average, depending on what faction you pick, if you pick a normal faction, you're probably thingy. I do care about my terrain enough to go ham on the paint job. Oh, man. Weirdly, as a channel, like, I think obviously the title is Terrain Made Easy, that I just can't be asked. You'd think I would be, but I just cannot be bothered. I'm not sure about the conversion, but it can be $400 to $1,000. Yep, I do agree with that. So much more than a Legion Army. It is more than a Legion Army, but you need more miniatures. And that was my point of when I made that video. I don't know if I can even show you, but I made a video and it was basically the difference in army tournament winning list costs. And the cost per miniature wasn't that different. It was all about the cost per point, basically, or point percentage of the list. And quite frankly, you needed less in a Star Wars Legion game. And I think that's what games probably the trend to, is to be a little bit more smaller. But obviously Games Workshop would lose money, so there you go. Even with the small list, the price usually ends up being the same. Yeah, that's the Giants, for example. The new Giants are what, 120 quid for one? Is it? I think. In a list you probably need 3. Well, then you're at 400 quid. Done. Do you know what I mean? There's probably a reason it's. Wait. One of my capture cards was brushing up against my fan. I know you couldn't hear it, but I could. Especially when you start the game. Yeah, some people have been playing for years and have multiple armies. Yeah, multiple armies. Like, if you do it over time, it's not a problem. But if you just bought straight into it, it would be a problem. You seen the video where 4 Americans spend 100k? What? No. What? You are? No, isn't it like 10k? What? They spent like a week. There we go. $3,000. There we go. 3 grown men spend $3,000. So that's basically $1,000 each. Probably plus the terrain. Oh, minus the terrain, I should say. But yeah, there you go. Oh, magic. There you go. It's the Magikarp use fly. Pokemon reference, nice. You heard of it? Yes, I. Henry Cavill needed to play Superman and The Witcher before he could afford his Custodes army. Same, I am desperately holding off from collecting Nids and Tara, trying to stick with just Necrons and Marines. They're actually from my area. Oh, nice. Which is like West Coast somewhere. I've done your Fuel Depot and Ruins tutorials and they turned out great. I need more small terrain like barricades. Any suggestions besides the ones you've made? So I obviously made just the rectangular square XPS barricades. They are super quick and I would recommend you do them anyway, if you've not already done them. Balls. Can't show you them because I don't know where they are. But I know you said the ones that I've already made. But they are so quick that it's worth doing them just to have them. Literally, I did them in 30 minutes. So I would recommend definitely doing them if you've not already done them. And then for barricades, I would maybe recommend just junk barricades. I've done 3 different kinds. I've done several different versions of barricades, right? Let me go full screen. I've literally done 3 different versions of barricades, maybe even 4. I did barricades like this, which are sort of like the GW sort of style barricade, which is just foam board and card. Then I did the concrete block barricade, and I also did the sort of like rubbly barricade. I'm not sure what else I could do. I'm not sure what else there is there. I don't have any more ideas. God, I'm not that smart. And thank you, by the way, for the compliment. I do appreciate that. The video they put out the other day was pretty fun. Well, let's have a look. I haven't seen. You just got your resin 3D printer. Oh, I've been so close to biting the bullet on that one. Luke, you can do an orc style barricade. True. I do support the WAG. True. 4 grown men paint $1,000 worth of plastic toys. Wow. Wowza. We won't watch the whole of this because I'll get banned off YouTube again. How many times can one man get banned off YouTube? I can't find my concrete barricades. I was gonna say I need them for my video. This was, oh god, you can't see it. I won't do it in full screen. We'll just show you here. These were dead simple. It's just XPS foam in rectangles. Like, I recommend doing these. These are so easy to do. Buddy, I was trying to get you to do like a buddy. Wait, is this an ad? Have they got an ad at the start of the video? Okay. I'm not popular enough for people want to put ads in my videos yet. 1,000 adverts. Hey, look, don't blame them. I mean, I'm not going to watch all of this, but this is a shed ton of miniatures. $10,000 worth of miniatures. I just wanted to see the, like, do they have like a shot at the end where it's like everything? Okay, I'm not going to watch this video. It doesn't actually show anything. Jay, I told you about the orc barricades, wooden fences. Yes, I should do all barricades at some point. Yeah, 100% should. How many whoever's going, bye. Is that you, Mac? Bye. I love you. Bye. How many times must a man get banned? How many times must a man get banned before you can call him a man? The answer, my friend, is at YouTube headquarters. The answer is at YouTube. Truff says, I want to buy a printer, a 3D printer, but I feel like it's buying a PC in the 90s. Ooh, Truff, yeah. I bought a PC, maybe not in the 90s. What was that? Yeah, actually, late 90s. And 6 times. Gonna go watch Bake Off. I can tell you're in the UK then, Thomas. I wonder if Katie's watching Bake Off. I wonder if she even knows it's on. I wonder if I could have a cake. I quite like cake. Is that the closing song? I don't know. What shall we do for the closing song? But I agree. I understand what you mean. That's why I personally would probably just buy a cheap resin printer. And I reckon there's a new one, which is the Anycubic Mono, I think. If you buy a new one that just gets released, that's cheap, then I think you'll probably get 2 years out of it. The reason the mono is good is because it's quick, because it's basically a black and white screen rather than a coloured screen, and so it's quick. I think if you say that your printer's going to last you 2 years, I think you'll be fine. If you're expecting it to last you a decade, you're obviously never going to catch up, if that makes sense. And I do agree that at some point, you will be able to buy a printer that will maybe last 5 to 10 years, but we're not there yet. So I'm looking at the mono for your next one. It is also huge. Is it huge? I was tempted to buy one, but I really don't have any room in this tiny ass room. I like the idea of getting a printer, but I worry about the toxic fumes. Yes, so I do worry about that. Resin is non-toxic. Resin is toxic, is it? But it reeks. So I was looking at the Anycubic Eco resin. Apparently it doesn't smell quite as bad, but apparently it doesn't smell quite as bad, but we'll have to see. I dropped a couple hundred on Ellie Gumars. I'm sure that the tech will get better, but and to be fair, you're not going to notice an improvement for 2, 3, 4 years. So I agree with you. I'd just get it done. I love this question from Luke. Off topic question: how do you handle a hobbying in a relationship where your significant other doesn't care much about it or at all? So that one, do you know we just had a baby this year? So let me just have a quick drink. I set up the Tabletop Oddity channel, and it was meant to be me and my wife playing war games together, but she found it a little bit difficult, and I sort of took it over. So she was sort of vaguely interested now, then, but now she's not at all, obviously, and we've also got a baby. In terms of hobbies being different, I think this is a weird one in our relationship, I think, and maybe she'd agree with this, I try and get more involved in her hobbies than she gets in mine, and I fully don't mind that at all. So what I actually try and do is make sure I'm paying attention to her hobbies. So she's interested in like RuPaul Drag Race and stuff like that, so I used to watch that with her. So, and now it's all about Willow, if I'm honest. And we're both interested in Willow, so that's fine and easy. But we don't necessarily share the same hobbies, but it's not really relevant. We just put time aside to make sure we do this and that kind of thing. So there you have it. It's not necessarily a problem. I don't expect her to like the things that I like, and she doesn't expect me to like the things she likes. It is what it is. My 2-year-old Endo S3 is still going strong, useless for minutes, but yeah, terrain, like the FDMs are great for terrain, obviously. The print size is big, but not the base. There you go. Oh, Joe's printed a lot of minis. Resin is toxic. I was going to say, Goobertown did a video on it, and I think I watched somebody else's video, but I can't remember who it was. May have been the 3D printing guy, tabletop printer guy, can't remember his name. The smell is actually not that bad. I would get the Eco one, because the problem I have is I need it to be in this room. The house is not big enough for me to put it anywhere else. Can't put it in the baby's room. Don't have a garage. Said that really weirdly. Don't have a basement. It would have to go in here. So every time it was on, I'd be here. So it's a problem. I'm honestly waiting for them to be truly plug and play. Yeah, Daka, I think that's going to be the longest thing. Weirdly, the thing that they need for it to be plug and play is simply a way of getting the resin in and out. What it really needs is to have a cartridge. I think like a proper printer, you have a cartridge that connects to the machine, and it drains out of the cartridge, and then it drains back into the cartridge. Then it sort of is plug and play. To an extent. You've heard Willow TV show is coming with Warwick. I did not know Warwick Davis. Is Warwick Davis back in it? Nice. My wife runs and I'm fat, so we're good. It means if you ever run away, like, she'll catch you. I'm getting a bit tubby as well. Although technically I've been eating a bit better. I need to weigh myself. Most of the time these days you can still just plug them in and they work just fine. Yeah, they do work fine. I think it's more like you've got to cure it, you've got to wash it and stuff like that. They do, obviously, a lot of people recommend the Anycubic like wash station. So, but then you've got to have a big tower for your printer. Then you've got another tower for your printing cleanup. You take it out, you dip it in the thing, then you cure it. And that's like $200, $300 as well. So for me, it's space, smell, effort. But I probably will buy one just because of YouTube. But it is what it is. I work in IT. Printers are the reason I drink. I was in IT up until about a year ago, and printers are the worst. We all hate printers. There we go. Do you have a specific storage preference for minis or terrain? Oh my god, Luke. No. For minis, I prefer, little foam cases. Although I don't actually mind the magnetic cases. I don't actually know why I've done that. I just haven't been bothered. But I generally just use foam cases. Terrain. Oh my god, I really like. I can't show you this. Hey, can I show you something that you all don't care about? I'm gonna let me know, anybody who's been here watching me make the terrain, let me know if this camera is better. But yeah, like my storage is terrible and I almost don't want to show you. It's all just stacked on top of it or in the loft in boxes. I'm terrible at it. The big downside of resin is the cleanup, which is by far the biggest pain. You need to craft a full-size shipping container. I need to craft a new house. All right, let me show you this. It's set up to do. I don't know. Did I have a builder's crack then? Do apologise. Let me know if this is any better than the old camera. That is not the right thing. Is there any such thing as good terrain storage? Maybe not. Maybe not. Wait, you wouldn't unsubscribe because of the backside. You'd be subscribing, wouldn't you? Like, that'd be one reason to subscribe. Does this look any better to you guys, or is it just me? Thoughts? Terrain made sleazy. I'm sorry, guys. That's just the way it goes. I'm gonna get banned off YouTube again. Thoughts? Oh look, you can see my hand. Does it look better though? I'm curious if it looks better. There are bits of this terrain that I actually don't like. I should have got rid of the mold lines on the teeth. It is what it is. It's too late now. But that's my hand. Ooh. Does it look better? Anybody remember? Ooh, Evapo. Only foams. We were the foam masons, but maybe I should change it to. Maybe we should change Patreon to only foams. There you go. Anyway, well, that'll be when we actually work on some terrain, which will probably be next week. Actually, I don't actually know when it'll be. Let's see what you got a good show of. Oh, hot damn! How fat am I? Am I not? It's not good. Say my name, you know who I am. Hot damn. Could do better. Aim away from the face. It's a beautiful face. Unfortunate about the body, isn't it? So let's recap. Let's talk about two things at the end of this. All right. Number one, subscribe to the channel. If you're not already subscribed, please do, because consider subscribing. It helps inflate my ego, which is really the most important thing. Yeah, thank you, Greg. Yes, my ego needs massaging at all times, like my backside. Thanks to Ed for the support. I do really appreciate that. There's obviously Patreon and membership if you want to join in there. But let's summarize the actual conversation. It's such a vast topic that I didn't really concisely say what I wanted to say. And all my basic point was, I'm not sure whether that'll count, Greg, but I'll take it. All my basic point was that people, when they say, hey, just buy what you like. If you don't want to pay the prices for Games Workshop, don't pay them. And I think, I don't want to call that disingenuous, but it doesn't explain the full story because it doesn't respect the certain amount of people who need the popularity of the game. I think that's the key point. It's not necessarily the case in the UK. I could probably find people to play a lot of games, but I was acutely aware that I wanted to go to events and stuff like that, and I wanted to really play people there. Therefore, if there's a game that I wanted to play that didn't have events, I wouldn't be able to play it. And if I can't play it, then I can't play it. So then you go down the list. What games do I want to play? And on the other hand, you've got what games can I play? And you've got to like match them together, haven't you? And really, for me, Games Workshop are not in the they're not in the do I want to play, but they are definitely in the can I play category. And yeah, thankfully there's other games that I want to play and that I can play, and therefore they're the ones that I stay in. So I don't really have to, I'm not like deeply concerned about Games Workshop pricing. But imagine if in your area there's only 40k or Age of Sigmar and you're tied to what you deem high prices, then you've got a problem. I feel I know less than I did before Jay started to explain. We didn't get into the Smithsonian style of economics or anything like that. Smith, something Smith. By the way, I did economics at university. Well, I actually did business studies, but I did a semester on economics. Can't remember very much of it. How long ago was that? I'm old now. When did I finish that? I finished that 13 or 14 years ago. So don't expect me to remember any of it. But that's what I'm trying to say. Like, when people, I just want you to know. I want you to know that when people say, just buy what you want to buy, the answer to that sometimes can be, that doesn't make sense because what I want to buy, I can't play because nobody plays it because it's not popular enough. Right? Which I think is fine. Adam Smith, he's Scottish, so you can't ignore him. Oh yeah, ignore the Scottish. I thought so. I did A-level economics a long time ago. Yeah, I'm old, I can't remember anything. And then, so you've got that. You have to play a game that you can play, by definition. And then the alternative is, if Games Workshop are the monopoly, or it's not a monopoly necessarily, but they're the biggest, they're number one, then I do think that there is an ultimate risk that if Games Workshop take the mick, it'll put off players to Wargaming, which therefore then reduces the popularity of games that are the games that they reduce the popularity of the games I want to play by raising the price of the games that I don't want to play. So I think it matters, but I don't necessarily think Games Workshop are the like super egregious. There's just points of like contention. I think that's me. I travel hundreds of miles for tournaments and know of Americans and Australians who fly further than... Yeah, but that comes down to money as well, to be fair. You've got to have like a financial consideration. I ain't traveling 500... I ain't going across borders to play it. What songs were on issue? We had how many miles? We had Bob Dylan. What was it? Bob Dylan. How many roads? What is it called? Blowing in the wind. Blowing in the wind. Blowing in the wind. Bob Dylan. Blowing in the wind. One of my favourite songs is called... By the way, when I stream, everything goes out my head. They sat together in the park as the evening sky grew dark. She looked at him, he felt a spark, a tingle to his bones. It was then he felt alone. I remember. Yeah, simple twist of it. Simple twist of it. Wow, shortest delay I've seen on YouTube live stream. I live outside of Europe, and GW is honestly so expensive that I can't buy the whole table of prepaid terrain from the EU at Joe Schmo prices. So shortest delay, I have it set on the shortest delay. So I'm very glad somebody noticed. You've just caught the end of the stream, just to break this down to and apologise to you, but Games Workshop, like in Australia and New Zealand, for example, is absolutely like insane. Not criminally, but it is insane. Have I seen Warhammer Artworks post on the Iron Chorus? Sorry, Southside Minis, I don't actually know what that is. I will Google this, but I don't know what that is. What is the Iron Chorus? I don't know what it is. Do apologise. Then GW's unpainted terrain. Then I need to. Oh god, the GW's unpainted terrain is it's sad efforts. It looks great. Like people oh god, when the Warcry stuff came out and people were posting it in like shades of green and blue and all this stuff, and I was like, oh damn, that looks good. And then I looked at mine and I was like, I've barely assembled it. I was like, what's my life? So when are we doing a Star Wars Legion game on stream to teach me the rules? Your desk is big enough. It's not big enough on the start, is it? Maybe it is. We'll play on Tabletop. If you want to play on Tabletop Simulator, Steve, I'll play you on Tabletop Simulator. There's a beginner thing on there. I'll play you on that if you want to do that. That's an open offer. If anybody wants to play me, just come on Discord and we'll thingy. I'm not 100% sure what the Iron Chorus thing is. Do apologise. If you want to be on Discord or Facebook or anything like that, you can always come there. You let me get the group link to... No, let's not. Oh, let's do the Facebook link. No, I have to find the Facebook link, which is embarrassing for me. Rather than you. Gotta find the Facebook group. Yeah, for some reason, in comments, I'm not allowed to put the Facebook group link anymore for whatever reason. Why is a raven like a writing desk? Crow, raven, nevermore. Can't think. Why? Trying to get the answer to this. I'm presuming this is a pun kind of thing, but I don't know the answer. Are you going to tell me the answer? Are you going to tell me the answer? Please tell me the answer. That is the Facebook group. If anybody wants to come along, join the Facebook group. There is a Discord group, if anybody wanted to join that. I'm not 100% sure I know the link. They should be in the description, stuff like that. Anyway, let me put on the headphones and we'll sing you out. I'll sing you out with Blowing in the Wind from Bob Dylan. Rather than this junk. Okay. Yeah, so that's what I was trying to say about the pricing. And it's complicated. You talk about pricing on Games Workshop. Hello, silence, my old friend. I've come to meet with you again. And this is the sound of silence. What a voice, honestly, what a voice. I do them all. What song do I like? Oh, can I actually just change song? There's a song I like by Paul Simon. Well, there's several songs I like by Paul Simon. I'll hit you up, but don't have TTS at current. Okay, no worries. It's just easy to do. It's easier to do a TTS thing than to get miniatures on my desk and do it like that. It's a Space Marine chapter, and they posted it on their Instagram, and they were trapped in the warp for ages. Basically, I'm going to make them. Oh, that sounds cool. I can understand why people like the lore of. You can call me out. Call me, baby, you can call me out. I understand why people like the lore of 40k. It's just not for me. Well, we'll see when the animated stuff comes up. No, this is actually the song I was gonna. Oh god, I've got an ad. Anyway, join me on Facebook, join me on Discord, subscribe to the channel. That's such a typical YouTube stuff. I hate doing the YouTube stuff, but like, weirdly, if you don't do it, you don't do as well. I know it's sad, but it is what it is. Like, subscribers technically don't mean anything, but it really strokes my ego, so I would very much appreciate it. Anyway, this is a song called This Is It. It's not. This is the end of the stream. This is actually called 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover by Paul Simon. But this is the end of the stream. Okay, Betty. Okay, Betty, when you call, you can call me out. Yeah, thanks for watching. I appreciate this was a little bit of a controversial subject. I wasn't trying to be super controversial about it. I was trying to just explain the concept of like popularity and the dominating wargaming having a perception of being high prices. It was a little bit sporadic. I'm not as good as some people at streaming. It's always been a bit of a chaotic mess. But thank you very much for watching. The stream is every Tuesday, so join me next week. Nobody followed you, what you said, so you're golden. That's what I expected. I actually think I'll post a pic on the Facebook. Oh, cool. Yeah, cool. I will check that out. Goodbye. Thank you very much for watching. We'll catch you next week. The video for the school should be up this Friday or Saturday, depending how quickly I can get it done. But yeah, have a most beautiful rest of your evening. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye. Goodbye.